everyone. Kelly Lewis here with the Revenue Insiders. Tiffany is off this week, but I have a phenomenal guest. I am so excited. We have been in the same circles for years, but somehow just met. I don't know how this is possible. I think if you are in the enablement space, you will also be shocked by the news that we have not met before. But I have the wonderful Roderick Jefferson with me today.
Hey, Kelly, how are you?
Good. And if you don't know Roderick, he is the grandfather of sales enablement. Actually came up with the term sales enablement, if I am correct.
That is correct. Oddly enough, but he was not smart enough to trademark it, but that's okay.
Not smart enough to trademark it, but lessons learned, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know what? For me, and like the rest of us that are enablement, I'm truly a people person. And being a part of the original Sales Enablement Society, now the Revenue Enablement Society, I've seen one or two changes. And to say that I am not only proud, but also honored and grateful and humbled to see where my baby sales enablement has gone to. But I'll say this, and I've been saying it quite a bit out public. I'm not a big fan of sales enablement anymore, Kelly.
I know. Tell me more.
It,
Tell
it,
us
I
more.
think it's too myopic because, especially in today's world, it was great when as it's grown up, but just like us as humans, who you are at 10 is not who you are at 18, at 35, at 50. And I think where we are right now has gone beyond just that myopic view of sales enablement because I think it kind of did us a disservice, to be honest. We put this hierarchy where sales is up on this pedestal and everybody else works for them underneath them versus today where we're talking about, revenue enablement or go to market enablement. I also think what's happened is we've become two things. One, the hub that spokes out to every part of the organization. But I think more importantly, with go to market and with revenue enablement, we have become what I call the translators of dialects and languages, right? Being able to and having to speak marketing, product marketing, HR, engineering, etc., translating that out to the field and then going from the field and translating that back into those other organizations. Whereby I think it's actually given us a higher level of credibility, but I still don't think we're at what I call the grown-up table yet. I still feel like we're at the kids'
Are
table
we
sometimes.
trying, though? We are trying.
We've been trying for a while, but we've gotten away from, thank God, from the view of being the fixers of broken things and broken people, right? But I don't know that we're talking still at a revenue metrics and measurements level to where we're viewed as a true partner all the way throughout the entire buyer's journey from the inception of marketing to BDRs to AEs, SCs, and CSMs and beyond. But I think we're starting to get there, but we still got a ways to go. And let me ask you a question that someone asks me all the time. How do you today, how do you define enablement? Because I've realized if you ask 10 people, you're going to get 12 different answers. We still don't have even a consistent
We
definition
don't.
of
We
what we
don't.
do.
It's so challenging. Part of it's why I love enablement, though,
Yes.
is because it does look different at different organizations, and that's okay because it's based on where the organization is. I would say
Yeah, where they
enablement
are is
is,
what I call the agent stage, right, of the
yeah,
organization.
we're always very flexible in what it looks like. But I do think the most important thing you can do as an enablement leader is define what it looks like at your organization and actually get it on paper and get buy-in about that. You said a couple things that I want to double click on. One was we are not just sales enablement. I think everyone has agreed on that for a while. But
Mhm.
even organizations who claim they are go-to-market enablement, they claim they are revenue enablement, you hear from them quite frequently that their CSM teams, their account manager teams, the professional services teams still feel like they aren't getting adequate support.
Yeah, they're like that third cousin at a family reunion, right? That you
Totally.
kind of know, but you kind of hope they don't sit at your table because you don't know what to talk to them about.
I often find when I'm doing training that I'm in the room training and I'm calling out the other teams. I'm saying, oh, I'd love to hear from someone on the onboarding team. I'd love to hear from someone on the CSM team, the solution engineering team. And people always come up to me and say, thank you for calling us out. I'm like, oh, Don't thank me. That's just what we should be doing.
That you're part of our family. You're part of the tribe, right?
Yeah,
But
but
they
it
get left
does.
behind so often.
They do. And I think it's on us as a profession to get better at it. If we
Agreed.
want to carry the name and we want a seat at the table, it's part of our role to make sure we're treating everyone and giving them the same level of support.
Well, I think there's another component to that too. As you were talking, it made me think it's an opportunity to really highlight and also push behind and kind of cheerleader, if you will, the value of those other roles.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting that love publicly, I venture to say that a lot of folks on the sales side of the business don't even know what they do, right? Because there's
Yes.
not a whole lot of interaction between them. We're that connected tissue, if you will, which makes us also responsible for saying, hey, this doesn't happen without professional services. This does not happen without CSM. And if we don't talk about the entirety of the go-to-market organization, what we're invariably doing is creating this big, beautiful house with a short hallway on the back end where our clients and customers are retreating out. And sure, we talk about retention, 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 but we never talk about how they go about it, what they do. I'd venture to say if most of the enablement folks and even the leaders of go to market are listening to this, when's the last time you had a dedicated, I'll say, session focused on ProServe or focused on CS? Let's be honest, it rarely happens. And not from, oh, we just did this. How about we just took down a big deal and this could not have happened without fill in the blank.
Yeah.
We've got to do more of that.
I know you did too. I carried a bag for a really long time, was a sales leader for a very long time before I moved into enablement. Oftentimes, when you're a great seller and you move into leadership, they want to ask you, well, what did you do? What made you such a great seller? Why did you always hit President's Club? I always tried to think about it and I was like, I actually don't know. But the one thing I would always say is it's because I used everyone around me. I worked with everyone around me. There were resources available. I got to know them. I had empathy for what they did and I brought them into my deals. And how that's translated into sales enablement is I consider team selling a competency that we focus on really regularly with the teams. You
I
should
love that.
know how to use your team. And so often I do competency mapping with teams, and it's the one thing that they're missing. They've got the messaging. They need to know the messaging. They know they need to know the processes and the product. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about how they work with the other teams. And I just get this like silence. What do you mean? Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
even think about it,
To
right?
me, it is one of the top 4 to 5 competencies that you need.
It's interesting. I have an AI enhanced workshop. It's a kind of a 7-week thing that I'm doing now for enablement folks of how do you infuse AI deeper into our enablement world. And
Okay.
I'll say the biggest thought that has come out of that workshop, that course, I'll say, it's not even a workshop, it's
Yeah.
an online course, is the importance of relationships even more so now than ever. Because you can't do things the way that we used to do it. One, it doesn't exist. Secondly, it's inefficient and ineffective. And thirdly, why are you trying to recreate the wheel when you have new tools? Right. So with that, what came out of that week where we were talking through relationships, it was, I know it's important. And I always ask the same question. 2 questions. One is, who you have the strongest relationships with? And it's always the same. Product marketing, it's sales. I said, all right, who do you have more of, and I'll say, an estranged family relationship with? Guess who? CS,
Yes.
services on the back end of the house, because they're almost an afterthought. And I would think that we would be more empathetic because for a while we were in it, right? Because we were, oh, we need this to do, throw it over to enablement and let them do their training that they do. What I would challenge our enablement folks to do is go and over the next week, make it laser focused conversation with those organizations in go to market that you have that I wouldn't even say tenuous, but at least somewhat a strange relationship. But when you do it, go in with questions. Find out the why they do things the way they do, not just what they do. And now you can become that cheerleader for the front end of the house that I guarantee you, they know even less than we know about what the back end does. And if we don't know it, you can only imagine how little the others do. And not from the, oh, let me puff them up, let me, put them on a pedestal and put the spotlight on it. It's, do you realize what actually happens after all that work that you did on the front end, on the back end, to not just upsell, cross, and renew, but to literally build relationships to keep those people as part of our family inside the house? I guarantee you, they have
Absolutely.
no idea or very little because they don't care because it's net new, keep, stick, and move and into the next one. But their job is beyond just, I'll say, account management. It's relationship management at its core.
Oftentimes, I'm talking to sales teams or enablement teams like this, and my piece of feedback for the year is if you need a word this year, you need one word to focus on, it should be intention. And I think the word intention can mean so many things, but when it comes to this is how are you intentionally including those other teams in your thought process? How are you intentionally looking at your cadence with them? Obviously, it's a big word, and I think we're going to talk about it a little bit more because intention's a big word of mine this year, but that's my word. I challenge it to be yours.
Absolutely. Mine is grateful.
Ooh, I love grateful. And we're going to talk about why. So, Roderick, you and I could talk for hours probably on sales enablement,
Easily.
but we're going to talk about a little bit different topic, a little bit more personal topic on this week's episode. And I'm so grateful that I get to share this topic with you. You recently came out with a book called Stroke of Success, and I think we'd love to hear your story. But before you jump into that, it's so powerful to me because if you're following this podcast and you're a listener, you know that I had a really interesting year in the last year and a half where I've made some intentional decisions to change the way I think about life and the way I show up. And it has to do with, things that have happened in my life. And so uh, this is a very personal topic to me. And I think so many of us who are high achieving individuals in corporate America face this moment. And I think so many can learn from you on what you've learned and how you're handling it. So thank you for writing this book. It is a gift. Could you give us a little overview of what your book's about?
Absolutely. The book is about us, actually. Us being those plus people that are high driven, that are ultra, and I never say overachievers. I say ultra achievers because I don't think you can overachieve, right? That there's limits to everything. Also, in particular, talking to our tribe of enablement. We're people by nature. And
If we are, we
sometimes we take that to the furthest extent. Unfortunately, I took it too far. And what I mean by that is I was you. I was the seller. I went to President's Club a couple of times. I got promoted to sales leader, got promoted then into training and went to enablement. And I've been blessed. I've had a great fairy tale life and career. And I did Siebel, eBay, AT&T, Oracle, Salesforce, yada, yada, yada. By all stretches of the imagination, I was successful. I had gotten to the pinnacle. I was a senior vice president of global enablement. Not a lot of those out there these days, right? And that's where the bottom started to fall out. I was flying around. I had the big budget. I had the great logos. I'm in corporate jets and helicopters and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, I have achieved. I have arrived. No, I haven't. I've allowed my ego to overtake what I do well beyond who I was. And it almost cost me my life. And I don't say that lightly. 4 years ago, I was, like we all do, getting ready for SKO, right? We're walking the hotel, we're checking out the rooms, we're mapping out the entirety of. And I was with my team, we go to dinner, and I'm exhausted. I mean, a different kind of tired though, Kelly. Not like, oh, it's just this time of the year or I've got a lot going on or I'm stressed. I literally looked up from the table and I had fallen asleep in the middle of a sentence. which literally scared the hell out of my team. Didn't scare me because I didn't realize what had happened. I played it off. Maybe I've got narcolepsy, right? No, it wasn't. I said, I'm really tired. And I start to walk back to my room. And then it really started to hit me. I'm by myself. I've got no one around me. And I literally have to remember, lift my left foot to step, lift my right foot to step, lift my left foot. While I make it back to my room, I check, email, what's going on at 11 o'clock at night. All right, because we're all 24/7, unfortunately. I wake up the next day and I just don't feel like myself. Now, fortunately, what I do is every day when I'm on the road, I jump on a call with my wife. Hey, what's going on? How are the kids? What's happening? All those things. This time she said, you don't sound right. And she said, I need you to jump on FaceTime. Still didn't click in my mind what's going on here. We jump on. She walks me through stroke protocol, and I'm now angry because I'm like, I'm fine. Typical A++, right? And she says, count to 10. Fine. 1, 7, 24, 36, 52, 45. Say your ABCs. Cool. I think I can do that. A, B, X, T, L, J, I, Q. And now I'm starting to get scared because I can hear this inside of my head. But what she's hearing is me blubbering. I can't even get the words out. She checks my face. Am I drooping? She's like, babe, I need you to call Tim Carlson, who was my director at the time. Thank you to Tim, and shout out to Tim for saving my life. I truly appreciate it, and I appreciate you more than I know. He comes flying down the hallway into my room, and right behind him is emergency folks that get me into the ambulance, take me in, and lo and behold, I had had a massive stroke during my sleep. It had been a stressful time, like all of us. I had gotten used to living at that red line of stress, like we all do. And I said, I can get through this. I'll push through one more thing and I'll get this done. I want to say to everyone out there, stop pushing through. Stop getting comfortable at living at that level of stress, because that's not normal. It's just the norm for us. I get to the hospital. First of all, I find out later that 98% of sleep stroke victims never wake up. And it's why it's called the silent killer. So that's miracle number one. I get to the hospital. They run a battery of tests. They release me in an hour and a half out of the ER. That never happened. I never said I was the smartest, and I'm going to prove it in this statement I'm about to say right now. I live in San Francisco Bay Area. I jumped on a plane that day and flew from Los Angeles home. Mid-stroke, in the middle of cabin pressure and altitude. That's miracle number two. I should be dead. And that's the first thing that my wife said. The first thing that the neurologist and cardiologist said to her was, he's a miracle. There's no reason this man should still be alive. Fast forward, I'm in the hospital for about 2 weeks at that point. I've got physical therapy, speech therapy, the whole nine. I can't talk, and my entire left side now is paralyzed. That night, I start hearing flashing sounds and lights are going off, and I hear code blue. Kelly, it's my room. All of a sudden, I lift up out of my body, and I'm floated up to the corner of the room, and I hear beep. I'm flatlined and I'm dead. Gone. What I found out was the normal heart squeezes at about 55 to 65% on average. I had no blockage, thank God, or I definitely wouldn't be here. When they rolled me into, my wife and my son rolled me into the emergency room in the hospital, I was at 22% heart function. At 20%, cardiac arrest hits and you die. I'm floating. I'm looking down at my body. They're working on me. They're sucking out fluids. They're doing chest compression. And again, I'm still flatlined. I look to my left, and it's my mom. My mom passed in 1999. She came to tell me, you are going to be fine. You're going to go back, but you cannot live the way you've been living, or it will be a very, very short road. Fast forward, I'm sucked back into my body, but I'm still flatlined. But I hear the one word no person wants to hear. Clear. Oh God, no, please don't do this. I hear him rubbing the paddles. He's coming down to shock me. At that point, I went from beep to beep, beep. Thank God he's on my right side, because my left side, as I said, is completely paralyzed. I grabbed his hand before he hits me with the paddles. Now I'm going to fast forward. I'm back. I've gone through physical therapy. I've gone through speech therapy. I've gone through occupational therapy. But what I want to say rings in my head, and it's how I live every day. I need folks to start thinking about self-care. And I mean selfishly. I also wish someone would have told me way back that we can do anything. We can't do everything as leaders. And we don't need to do everything. Trust your people. You've hired the right people. Trust them and let them do what they do best. And sometimes the best thing we can do in becoming the best leader that we can is to get out of the way of our people. The other thing I realized was right before I had my stroke, before I left on that trip, my daughter's 36, son's 27, so I've got older kids. My daughter asked me, she's like, Dad, you've done all these amazing things. You've got this enablement lifetime achievement award, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, that and $7 will get me a latte. And she said, what do you do for fun? And what do you do just for you? And I looked at her and I said, what is this fun you'd say, you think of a child? But in hindsight, it meant that I wasn't taking care of me. I was taking care of everybody around me. And that's what we do as enablement people. We enable at our core. The problem is we don't know how to turn that off. We do it in life. We do it at work. We do it with our friends. We do it with our coworkers, etc. We're constantly helping. And I think it's great that we help. But when are we going to start helping ourselves? When are we going to learn how to put that mask on ourselves? So if I can say anything to folks out there right now, take that corporate mask off. Focus on who you are, not what you do. Make sure that you're taking time away. And I want to give you something tactical that you can go away and do that I do every single day. Before I look at my email, I come in and right in front of me, there's a whiteboard over here. Every day, I put 3 things professionally that I'm going to do today before I turn off my laptop or before I walk away from it. The 4th one is one thing just for me personally every day. Sometimes it's I'm just going to take my dogs for a walk and get some fresh air. Sometimes it's, you know what, me and Baskin Robbins are going to see each other today because I think I deserve ice cream. And that's the other thing. Don't make that personal thing a treat for yourself. Make it a part of your everyday routine just to take care of yourself and to spend some time with you. I'll say this. While I was an amazing, I think, enablement leader, I was a horribly unhappy person, even at my peak as an SVP. And I was very good at masking it. For those that follow me on LinkedIn, you would have never known that I even had a stroke because it wasn't out there. Because how could I share that with the world? I'm supposed to be that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm just a guy. Please learn from me. And the one thing that I learned from my mom is it's our job every single day to give a smile to what she called the invisible people. That's the people that check you in at the hotels, your waiters and waitresses, the valet. And sometimes it's that person that you just passed in Safeway, right? In the supermarket. Because you never know what someone's going through. That may be the only smile they get all day. That may be the one thing that keeps them on this planet. It may be the one thing that made them feel seen. If we can do that, and if you would please challenge yourself to join me to do that every single day, I would be eternally grateful. Because just because you're successful, don't equate success with happiness, because they don't always come hand in hand.
So powerful. I have so much to say on all of that. First, I'm so happy you're with us and that
Thank you. Thank
you
you.
survived. And it sounds like you had a lot of people in your corner to make sure that happened, and definitely a miracle. There's so much to say, but I think a few things that resonated to me are if you're an enablement or you're a really strong people leader, we have a ton of empathy. And oftentimes we carry that. I definitely don't consider myself an empath by any means. But I do think I carry that stress and the burdens. And when my team feels overworked,
Everybody's stress, not just your own.
I'm carrying everyone else's stress. And yeah, I had a moment a year and a half ago when I left my last corporate job. And it was very similar. It was a moment where I was like, I'm breaking. I'm not the mom I want to be. I'm not the wife I want to be. I'm not the daughter I want to be. I'm not the sister I want to be. I'm not the friend I want to be, because I'm frankly pretty miserable. And I'm letting my job control that.
Yeah, it
And I
defines
needed to
who
step
you
back.
are, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you have these moments and you never know what's going to cause it, but I will now say I'm very happy. And do I still carry stress? Absolutely. Do things stress
We're
me out?
human.
Yeah, I run my own business. You feel this. I got to make
Absolutely,
sales
I
and I got to
do.
go do
But
deals.
it's a different kind of stress now.
It's a different kind of stress. And so your story, while I'm so thankful I did not have to go through as challenging a time as you did, I think there's so much that can be learned from it. And I think normalizing the fact that so many of us carrying this and think we're alone is challenging. And I think hearing that you're not alone and there is a light on the end of the tunnel, I think is so important.
The thing I'll say about enablement that I love the absolute most over everything else that we do is we care for each other. We care on a deep level. It's not surface by any stretch. And like you, in order to find happiness again, I left corporate completely and I took off and started my own consulting company. And now I'm focused on being a professional keynote speaker. And I am out telling that story over and over again, not because I just want to sell this book, shameless plug, right? But because I don't think there's any other profession that knows how to connect with people leaders, and enablement folks. I'll challenge the audience once again. And I need you to be 100% crystal clear and transparent with yourself when you do this, because this was the change for me. The biggest above all of that, even above, and it was a byproduct of the stroke, which I pray that you never do. But Kelly, I've learned that from the American Stroke Society is every human over the age of 25, 1 out of 4 will incur a stroke. I've had 2. The second one was the one I told you I didn't know about the first one.
Yeah.
So here's the challenge. I want you to go by yourself, go to your mirror, bathroom, wherever it is. I want to look at yourself in the face. I want you to ask yourself 2 very, very important and powerful questions. Do I love the person I see right now? Because they're 2 very different things. I loved myself, and I probably loved myself, for those that knew me and or were parts of my team, a little too much at times. Probably a lot too much at times. And for that, my apologies to those teams. I was going through things that I didn't realize. But it's that second one. Do I like myself? Initially, absolutely not. Now, absolutely, I like me again. Because I'm not doing anything anymore for me or about me. Since that stroke, everything that I do has changed. I want not better. I don't want more. I'm sorry. I don't want bigger. I don't want more. I want better. I want better
Yeah.
relationship. I want better conversations. I want better time with my family. I want better fun than I've ever had. Because if you don't do it, I hate to say it, but you will become that story, your own version of that story. It may not be a stroke. It may be something else. And by the way, your body, if you listen to it, it gives you warning shots. It gives you precursors. I did. I didn't listen. I was too wrapped up in my own ego. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. Another really quick story, Kelly. I had been on the road for a couple of weeks. And for me, my why of why I started doing all of these things was to provide and protect. Early on, nothing mattered more than protect and provide. Somehow I got lost in the sauce during all of that flying around and all of that nonsense that really didn't matter. I had gotten home from a 2-week trip, hit Europe, ran around like we all have done, I'm sure, as leaders, right? I'm in EMEA, I'm in APAC, I'm in North America, I'm all over. And finally I get home and I say to my wife, babe, I just want a greasy taco. I'm so tired of hotel food. My son was small at the time, and he looked at me and he said, Dad, Tuesday's shake and bake day. We don't do tacos on Tuesday. And now you may find that odd and humorous, but it's not. What it said to me is, they have an entire life around me that does not include me. And I was so busy trying to make a life for them and for myself that I stopped living and being a part of their life. Don't get that wake up call that I had to. Don't realize that your family is moving around without you or that they barely know you. or that your friends hardly see you because you've made that excuse. I'm too busy. I've got a lot going on right now. I'm traveling. I'd love to catch up, but can we do that and put something on the calendar, mid next month? No. Stop for a moment and say, we're as busy as we want to be. And we're also sometimes as busy as our ego will make us. Start focusing on connecting instead of what social media would tell us to do that's important, which is connections.
As ultra achievers, I'll use your language, I often think we have a definition of success for ourselves, and we continue to look for that definition of success in all we do. And we continue to strive for that. And there's always a next step of what that success could look like. You never hit it. And what I've realized in talking to you and hearing your story and talking to others who have been on this journey ahead of me is it's okay. You can give yourself permission to change your definition of success.
And to learn how to be still. That's hard for us A plus people. Because if I'm sitting still, then I'm not being effective. If I'm sitting still, then I'm wasting time. No, that doesn't mean that I'm complacent, and it doesn't mean that I'm slacking. What it means is health is more important than doing things all the time. Someone said something the other day and it stopped me in my tracks. As leaders, we put a lot of value and validity in, you know what? I'm the only one that can do fill in the blank. I said that to someone recently, and you know what they said to me? I laughed because, again, it froze me in my tracks. It said, honestly, Roderick, if you're the only person that can do fill in the blank thing, how important is it really? It's not that important. Because after my stroke, I talked to my CRO at the time, and he said, let me give this to you straight with no chaser, like only he can do. And he said, we had a discussion with the ELT, the executive leadership team, because we didn't think you were going to make it. And we said, here are the steps that we out. We're going to put up some really nice flowery things out on social media. We're going to cut a distribution check to your wife and send her, I'm sure, a nice bouquet. Then we're going to open new rec because we got to replace him because we've still got jobs to do. If I can leave you with anything, and don't get me wrong, I am still one of the most ultra achievers I know and still pushing, but I push differently now because I realized something that I wish someone would have said to me 30 years ago. Corporate America is here to make a profit, not friends. They will use you until you have nothing left. That's not a negate. I had a wonderful time in corporate America, and I think it still serves a purpose. But you have to figure out how to balance this. And now life has to become chess, no longer checkers. Because I learned just this week, checkers is called the game of fools because anybody can get lucky. If you work hard enough and you nudge and you push and you keep going, eventually you're probably going to get lucky and win. Chess is called the game of kings because everything is a strategically tactical move. Sounds a lot like what we do as people leaders and enablement folks. And a part of that is the fact that if you think about chess, the king and the queen are not the ones out doing. They're the ones that are being protected by everybody else that's doing. Let that marinate.
Okay. Well, we are at time. This was I can't figure out another word right now, but a very powerful conversation. It's so important that others hear this. If you have not read Stroke of Success, highly encourage you to. Where is it available, Roderick?
Yes, you can find it. You can get actually a signed hard copy on roderickjefferson.com. Or if you're on Amazon, you can find the ebook and you can also get the paperback. Later this year, I'm actually going to put out and I'm going to actually do the read and the voice for it because I don't know that anybody can give it the need that it does. Not because I'm the only one that can do it, but I'm the only one that was laying in those hospital beds. So let me be clear on that one. And I'll put out an audiobook later this year.
Amazing.
Kelly, thank you so much for the opportunity. I truly believe that my job now on this planet is to help others. It is no longer about me. Everything that was is gone. Because right now, if I can't help someone else, I serve no use and no purpose.
Thank you. I know that this will have an impact on our listeners and appreciate you being here. That's it for this week's Revenue Insiders.